We're now being joined by Ebun-Olu Adegboruwa. He's a legal practitioner. Good morning and thanks for joining us. You listen to Elijah Mohammed of the APC and you've been following this story since it broke. What's your take on this?
Good morning, thank you. I believe that we have a long way to go from what I've heard from the national spokesperson of the APC. The mantra we got during the campaign simply changed. I mean, things will no longer be the way they used to be. If a president was used to using only people of his tribe and family as private secretaries, we thought that when the APC comes, we will spread it over all the parts of Nigeria. And when you look at the appointments that have gone on so far, you discover that there is a particular tendency that is lopsided in a particular region, which is clearly unconstitutional. And I took time, because when I was speaking, I had to go and check the APC manifesto. Let me just read to you one paragraph. As a change agent, APC intends to cleanse our closet to halt the drift of Nigeria to a failed state with a conscious plan for post-economy in Nigeria. To achieve this laudable program, APC government shall restructure the country, devolve power to the units with the best practices of federalism, and eliminate unintended paralysis of the center. And listen though, in sum, we subscribe to and shall preserve the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy as enshrined in Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That's the APC manifesto. You can check their website. In other words, the promise that this political party made to Nigeria, with which a collected vote or garnered vote, was that we will devolve power, we will structure power, we will go through all the sectors of this country, and we work with Chapter 2. And when you go to Chapter 2 of the Constitution, Suleiman, is Section 14. That's Chapter 2 of the Constitution that APC has incorporated into its manifesto. And the Section 14 says, the composition of the government of the Federation or any of its agencies and the conduct of its affairs shall be carried out in such a manner as to reflect federal character of Nigeria and the need to promote national unity and also to command national loyalty, thereby ensuring that there shall be no predominance of persons from a few states or from a few ethnic or other sectional groups in that government or any of its agencies. So what we see in this appointment is clearly a neglect of the Constitution. What you see in this appointment is that it's a preference of a president who seems to have a disposition of hatred. It's the expression of insensitivity.
Mr. Adegboruwa, I think we should, be careful with our choice of words. When we begin to use words like hatred, they could connote or they could begin to bring up certain sentiments that might not be what it is that I intended. So I think we should temper the words that we're using because we're on television. But then, some people will say, as I was listening to the chairman of the NBA, he said that it's too early in the day to say that, it's lopsided. We cannot, the entire gamut of appointments have not been made just yet. And so it's too early in the day to start saying it is lopsided in favor of one particular section of the country.
The journey of 1,000 years will start with a step, and I saw you were asking him, if I will judge this government by its program, we will know it in this period of this initial starting point. If we are going to know how the system of appointment will play out eventually, it's in the first critical days of the principal appointment, because these ones will influence what will happen in the subsequent times. When you look at who is your chief of staff, when you look at who is the secretary to the government, these are the engine room. These are the people who will influence those who can see the president. These are the people who influence where files are going to. So when you have concentrated those appointments to a particular section, the preference will be that those people in particular will also have their own preferences.
But
so this is the time to actually judge. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Muhammad talked about the fact that these appointments are personal staff of the president. I mean, like the chief of staff, for instance, needs to be someone close to him, someone that has known him for a while, someone that knows how he works and can relate with him personally. what's wrong with the chief of staff, for instance, being someone from his area, a friend of his? What's wrong with that?
I'm sorry to say that the president or any officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has no personal staff. Every person who's engaged
doesn't have a personal life.
No, the person is not attached to the office of the natural person of the president. He's attached to the office, not his own natural person. The person is being paid by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The person is earning that office by virtue of the creation of the office of the president. He has no personal staff.
Do you put people you don't trust to work around you?
No.
You mean he doesn't have personal affairs? Is that what you mean, because he's president?
What I mean to say is this. When you get into office as a president for a country that has 250 ethnic groups, the first impression you give is that you cut across. As a matter of fact, this is the opportunity for the president to demonstrate his tolerance for other ethnic groups by getting people from those other areas to become his own personal assistant. And now you see President Olusegun Obasanjo, all his chief of staff are not from Yoruba area. Check through his government. In spite of all his dictatorial tendencies, all the chiefs of staff of General Olusegun Obasanjo were from the south and from the north. So there's nothing personal about it.
It was well known that the former president, with due respect, was, how will I put it now? He lived all over the country, as it were, and he made friends from everywhere. It's also said that he speaks the 3 languages as fluently as he speaks his own mother tongue. So can we really judge one person, or can we really say that because this president did this like this, so this president too should also do it like this? Is that how we should look at it?
No, the point I'm responding to is to also give the impression that you don't personalize office. Because it is Buhari today, we don't know who will be president tomorrow.
Well,
you don't need that precedent.
The point he was trying to make is that these people, because they're personal appointments, have to be people who know him very well, people who he can relate with, people whom he can trust with his life, as it were. And if you don't have friends from other parts of the country, or you don't have these people from other parts of the country, or if you choose that they should come from a certain part of the country because, or maybe you didn't even choose where they came from, but it just happens that the person you've chosen happens to come from this part of the country. What is wrong with that?
The point I'm making is that if at the stage when you put yourself as candidate to become president of Nigeria, you don't have the capacity to absorb people from other ethnic groups, then you don't qualify to go into that office. That's the point I'm making, Maokwe. You don't go into office of a president of a country like Nigeria and be banding sentiment to say you can only work with your friends. That won't work in a country like this.
Is that what we've seen?
So what I'm saying is that the point I'm making is this. You go through the southeast, go through the south-south, go through the northwest, go through the southwest. There must be people whom this president, he was in the military. And the military, like you said, lives all over Nigeria. So in other words, in the course of his training in the military all these years, he must have lived in all parts of this country and must have made friends from all over Nigeria. General Buhari was not somebody who was trained in a particular section of the country. He moved all over, had battalions, had friends. He was a minister of petroleum under a Yoruba president. So he should have been able to gather enough friends that could come from all over the country. And the second point is this. Alhaji Lai Mohammed said, some of these appointments are tenured. And so there's nothing you can do, you inherited them. Please remember, when this government came on board, it issued a general circular and said all boards should be dissolved. All boards, including statutory boards, tenured appointments, contrary to the constitution, contrary to the laws of those boards, were scattered and dismantled.
For instance?
For instance, the Niger Data Development Commission, the board was dissolved. Check the Niger Data Development Law, Section 3, Section 5, says that anybody who is appointed to that office is appointed for 4 years. Check the AMCON law, Section 10. So when you want to constitute the body of the AMCON board, you have to consult the Minister of Finance, which we don't have up to now. And so the president scattered those agencies that are meant to intervene in developing the areas where they represent, and scattered all their representatives, in spite of the fact that they were confirmed by the Senate and the National Assembly for a term of 4 years, from 2013 to expire in 2017. So we have a president who is working against the law, against the Constitution. And you will remember,
I'm sorry, Mr. Adegboruwa, I don't, the reason I'm a little confused here, because I recall that, was it just last week, was it the managing director of NDDC and some board members did pay the president a visit. They did not pay him the visit as dissolved members of the NDDC. They were still in office. So are you talking about the position of the managing director and the people who work around him, or are you talking about a separate board which oversees the NDDC?
So the way the NDDC is run is this.
I'm quite confused.
It used to be on PADEC, if you recall. And then there was a decision to structure it so that all the 9 oil-producing states will be represented in the board. So you bring a representative from each state. But in addition to that, the 3 other states who are producing oil at a larger quantity will have 3 other representatives who will be executive members, like the managing director, like the director of admin, director of projects. So they call them management committee, and who are also members of the board. So those who visited the president you are referring to are members of the management committee, who are also supposed to be members of the board. And that's a contradiction. If you dissolve the board, these people, including the managing director, are all to be members of the board that you have dissolved. And yet they are in office to supervise budget close to 300 billion naira without members of the other states that actually own the oil. And this is just one. There's AMCON, whereby you don't have a minister of finance, and then the president has announced the constitution of a board illegally.
What happens when the tenure expires of the head of AMCON?
The tenure expires. You would appoint a minister of finance. That's why we are saying section 148, section 147 prescribed that immediately the president was sworn in, he should have constituted a cabinet. He's running a one-man government. Up till now, we don't know who is his attorney general. We don't know who is his minister of finance. So everything is at a comatose. And that's why I was surprised that...
Everything at a comatose?
Yes, that's why I was surprised at what Alhaji Mohammed was saying. Go to the stock exchange, Sulaiman. Investors are running away. My friend, please pick a copy of $1 and go to the Bureau de Change and change the money and see the exchange rate. It's as if we're not in the same country when Alhaji was talking. And then look at all the roads. I checked the APC manifesto. It's to do a network of roads at least 3,000 kilometers linking all Nigeria together. But the reverse is the case now. Julius Berger has been chased out of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Go there now. There's no work going on. The carnage, the death that is going on the roads presently, is that a problem of Jonathan?